I don't know about you, but I love coffee and I love caramel coffee. I've tried really hard to break myself of this habit, but y'all, I just gotta have my cold coffee or my warm coffee with some caramel in it. I do limit myself on my intake daily and I try to stop drinking it by 2 p.m. And I love the salted caramel coffee syrup that I get at Walmart and Kroger's. It can be kind of pricey, but recently my daughter brought me some homemade brown sugar cinnamon coffee syrup that she made herself. She also brought me a frother, which I'm totally in love with. After she told me how simple it was to make, I knew I just had to make some of my own. So let's just jump right into this recipe. First, you will want a small to medium pan and you are going to add 1.5 cup of granulated sugar and 1.5 cup of water. I did use distilled water for this recipe. Now we're going to give this a stir and you're going to stir this until that sugar has dissolved into the water. Go ahead and cut your stovetop eye or your burner onto medium. Going to set our stovetop timer on to 15 minutes and just walk away. Y'all, I got my floors mopped while I did that. When the 15 minutes is up, you will see that the sugar has dissolved completely. And it's starting to look just a tad bit darker. Now we're going to set that timer again for 10 minutes. And y'all, I got my house clean while I was doing this. I like to multitask and I love using that timer. You do not have to stir this, but I did. I stirred it occasionally when I would check on it. And then we're just going to let this boil. I kept setting my timer for 10-minute intervals since this was the first time I ever made this. I do recommend that because this can take anywhere from 20 to 45 minutes from what I've read, depending on your stovetop. But this took me 50 minutes to make. And you will know it's done when it turns like almost an amber color. And you do want this to boil. That in pretty much the entire time. After about 45 minutes, took me 50, then we are going to add our other ingredients. You could add whatever flavoring you want to this, but this was my choice. I added 2 tablespoons of vanilla extract. Then I decided to add 2 tablespoons of banana flavoring syrup. I love this stuff. I believe I found this at Publix. This is a great syrup to add like to banana bread or cakes and things like that. So I do try to keep that on hand. Now let's add some sea salt, and we're going to add about 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt. We're going to give it a stir, and we're not finished yet. We are going to add another 1.5 cups of water to this, and you want to add hot water to this, not cold water, hot water. Be cautious and add this slowly because this is very hot and you do not want to get burned. Let's give this a really good stir, and then we are going to turn our stovetop eye or burner off and set this aside and let it cool for at least 45 minutes to an hour. And then once it's done, you can pour this into a mason jar. I'm going to use a glass bottle that I bought at the Dollar Tree over the summer. I thought these were so neat, and I knew I'd find a way to utilize them, so this was perfect. I did use a funnel. Then once it cooled off, I poured it into my bottle, and voila, you've got some nice homemade coffee syrup. Now y'all stick around and we'll make us a cup of coffee and see how this syrup tastes. And I will show you my frother that my daughter brought me. We're going to start off with 1/2 cup of hot coffee. You can use cold coffee with this frother as well. You can make cold coffee, but I really like the hot coffee. You could even do hot chocolate. I really like to use oat milk, and what my daughter and I found is that the oat milk works in this just as well. There is probably so many things you can do with this frother. I have a new toy, and I really like it, y'all. But I put enough milk in there to fill it up to the line where I'm supposed to have it at. This has like 4 different settings on it. I haven't played around with it enough to know how to utilize it totally, but I'm working on that. So once I've got my milk in there, now I'm going to pour my syrup in, and I'm just going to use what little I had left in my pan. I typically do about 2 tablespoons of a syrup in my coffee, and then we're just going to turn it on, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. It's kind of satisfying watching it turn around and foam up. It really doesn't take much to amuse me, y'all. And then once this is through, it will cut off itself, and then we're just going to pour it right into the coffee. You do want to pour half of it into your coffee to begin with, and then give it a stir. And then we are going to pour the other half into the coffee. And you can see how frothy it is. Oh, it's so good, y'all. This made such a huge difference in my coffee that I make at home. I love this. I just wanted to share this with you. And you might want to think about getting a frother. And y'all, that homemade syrup, it was so delicious. Next time I'm going to make it with brown sugar instead of the granulated sugar. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and y'all be good.